What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3Tier here to bring you a rather short episode of my weekly Q&A show titled People's Questions, episode 205. We only got about 4 questions from about 2 of you guys, from regulars of mine, which I guess the traffic this week was probably a little bit slow. Maybe you guys just a little bit busy, but heck, I'm not going to complain. Going with the first question coming from a regular of mine going by the name of Dr. Hino419. And I really liked your question, and you want to know if I could pick any Final Fantasy character to be, who would I choose? Oh, that's an easy one. I would have to go with my favorite Final Fantasy character of all time, and that is Auron from Final Fantasy X. The reason I like Auron is because he kind of has that mentor-like presence, and I've always gravitated more towards mentor characters, whether it's in video games or whether it's in movies. I put him in parallel with probably my favorite Jedi in Star Wars, his younger version, not as much older version, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, because you get to see his development from becoming, a Padawan to a Jedi Knight to a Master, so you get to see his development. And with Auron, you don't quite get to see as much, but you do get to see him at 2 different phases. You get to see him as a much younger man, and then you kind of see what he becomes into later on as kind of the main leader of the, not really the leader, the main mentor of the group, and kind of explaining exactly how things work because he had gone through this before. And he's just fiercely loyal. He's an ultimate badass. He's a highly skilled warrior. I can't think of enough good things to say about him. When his will is so strong that he can survive dying and becoming an unsealed spirit, that really does say something about a character of, his qualities and his morals. That's just something to admire, and that's something I hope to apply one day in my own life one day. I hope I can become a character, well, maybe not a character to go with this kind of stuff he did, but in terms of my mentality, that's the type of person I want to grow into, hopefully by the time I hit my 30s, so that's why I would pick Auron. Going into the next 3 questions come from Santiago Scarpino, and you want to know, what would I prefer being, a Borg from Star Trek or a Cyberman from Doctor Who? Well, the Borg can assimilate things, but I don't really like the idea of being part of a collective, and I don't know, I just don't really like that idea. And I don't like all the, the plugs and the wires and just kind of just being stocked away until I'm needed, so that wouldn't be very exciting. Although Cybermen do look rather badass, especially in numbers, and I think I would have a much more fun time fighting the Daleks than I would be fighting the Enterprise. And listen, man, I'm not a really big fan of the Borg cube. It's kind of menacing at times, but it's not very creative in my opinion. So if I'll pick a Cyberman. Your next question is, what is my favorite Star Wars EU story? Oh, that's easy. I would pick I like the Dark Apprentice storyline. For those of you that don't know, this is actually the storyline that kind of follows Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi before the events of Phantom Menace. I really like this because it kind of shows exactly the type of character that Qui-Gon is. Him having to actually go against 2 of his older apprentices before he had Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought Xanatos was a very, very well-written character. I really wish we could have gotten more into him because before reading Dark Apprentice, I really had this idea that if Qui-Gon had actually survived the Duel of Fates and gone on to train Anakin Skywalker, that he would have done a much better job than Obi-Wan Kenobi, maybe because he would have been more aware of his mother and he might have taken some time to deal with that situation. But when you have a character like Xanatos, who had a very, very aggressive past, it kind of made me take a step back and be like, wait a second, if Anakin always had this anger, aggression in him, which apparently he did always have since he was a child because of his environment, is it possible that we could have gotten the same result? I don't know. This was really the first story that really made me question my original way of thinking when it came to Qui-Gon Jinn. I believed him to be a much better teacher than Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I still believe that, but it's not to say he's perfect, and he is definitely flawed, and that's what I really like the Dark Apprentice storyline. And the last question of the episode is there something good about Final Fantasy 13? Is that a joke question? Well, despite that being an utter abomination and the worst video game I will ever play in my life till the day I die, I'll admit there's only one thing about it I like. And the only crime about it is that it's not in a better game. I absolutely love the boss battle theme for Final Fantasy 13. I think it's an epic score. And you really can apply it to any other Final Fantasy game, and it fits just as perfect. As I said earlier, the only crime is they decided to put it in that game. Just take that out, put it in any other. Heck, I would love to hear that score be played in Final Fantasy 15. I think it would even fit even better. And with that, those are all the questions that you two guys sent me for this particular episode. I'd like to thank you two for making this episode possible. If you guys have any questions for me that you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. Make sure you get them into me before next week, before I start filming this video. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.